We're back for 2024. Hello, everyone.
Oh, wait, ad break. Ad break is still
Is there an ad
going.
break? There's an ad break,
Yeah, there
apparently.
is.
But we're
In
Technical.
here. We're
three,
not.
2, 1.
And welcome back to The
Hey!
Social Pillar. My name is
Hey.
Jared, also known as the GM Chef. And I'm excited, as always, to be rejoining with the wonderful Ian and Thea. Thea, how are you?
I am most excellent. So happy to be here with two amazing human beings and all the awesome people in chat. We have a couple of first-time chatters, Fordlist and the only Trent, the awesome Trent. Hatter's back. Loz is back. So
Hey.
good to see everybody.
Welcome back,
Please
everyone.
enjoy the journey with us. And I'm OMGM as well. Hi. I know what I'm saying. This is a good start. Super organized. Who else we got here? I don't know which side to look anymore. I've forgotten my videos.
I'm here somewhere. I think I'm to your right, but in any case, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Ian Zammit. I'm also known as Roleplay Experience, where I actually run games to, how did I put it? Dedicated to connecting people one table at a time through roleplay.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I've actually got my first adult one-shot games for Penrith Library, and it's sold out. It's
fantastic.
And,
so excited.
How good.
I don't think we've had it. Actually, did we have an intro for you, Jared?
Did you say hello?
No, I said
we
hi.
should.
I'm Jared. I'm also known as the GM Chef. I also do roleplay game things. Professional game master, convention organizer, general enthusiast of tabletop role playing and all adjacent hobbies. Brainchild of this this insane show where I wrangled a couple of forever GMs, much like myself, to talk about the passions that we hold for tabletop role playing. But before we dive into the show proper, would like to just acknowledge that we are streaming to you from Aboriginal land. I'm coming to you from Ku-ring-gai land, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're streaming to you from, pay our respects to elders past and present, and extend those respects to any First Nations people who may be watching now and forever will be native land, and ownership was never conceded. So we're diving
So
back
we're
into,
apparently a bit quiet.
A bit quiet, yeah. We've changed a few things, so please give us feedback, give us all the tech tips.
Please do.
We do need to balance things a little bit as we dive into things for the year. Changed a little bit of the technical side of things in the backside. So let me just I'll just artificially increase my levels, and I can talk as loud as I want now that I have my own place.
Oh, I can hear you.
Yes, hello everyone.
Oh my gosh, new things.
It's all exciting.
New things.
New show, well, it's the same show that you've always enjoyed and loved.
People.
Same lovely people, but we're gonna have guests this year. We're gonna do lots of fun things. But we've taken a bit of a break over the new year, and we're gonna dive into what we've just been mulling on and thinking about and diving into. So, Ian, take it away.
Yeah. Well,
what are we doing?
Actually, thanks for launching me into it. Actually, here we go. It's really good to see you both. It's really good to see everyone in chat as well. And I didn't get all the names of everyone there. Maybe we can do a bit of a call out in a sec too.
For sure.
Unpleasant Bridge. I like that name.
Yep. That's a bot, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, unpleasantly
we'll take
bot.
Sure. HRG, hello, and Four Tails. I think that's an interesting one. And Loz, Fordlist. Very cool. Guys, welcome back. It's good to be here. We're returning to our ongoing conversations from 2023. 2024 is here. Big year. Talking about role-playing games and continuing conversations with you, with each other, and developing what is it that we do with our hobby. We're going to take a bit of a moment in the spotlight today to share our experiences and reflections over the summer break that we've had. Yes, our Northern Hemisphere friends, our summer break. Get you used to what it's like down here. We're going to discuss the ideas we've picked up and the directions we'd like to explore on and off our RPG tables. And we'd like to hear from you in our chat while we're doing that. What hopes do you have for your role-playing game in 2024? Please send them through here because we'd love to bring them up between our chats. And before we get into the three of us, Jared mentioned that we do have a few changes and a few things that we've worked on, so that because we've learned a lot from last. Thank you for feedback, everyone out there too. One thing is our format. We're going to be pulling back our seasons to 4 seasons a year, much like last year, but 6 regular episodes per season. The usual time that on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. AET. So check us out for those over the next 6 weeks or so. There may be a break in between that time. We'll be doing the regular thing, be able to talk about certain topics. And outside of that, we're going to do our cozy specials. They're the ones where it can be at different times. We can take a bit of time with them, have a more relaxed kind of like discussions about things, or just dive into a game or some kind of work or something. So we'll be trying those, and along with housekeeping and planning to have breaks in between. So have a look for that. There may be a few surprises throughout the year as well that we're looking forward to. Learn a lot from. And I think that's enough from me. I think it's time to get into, we're going to talk each one at a time. We're going to kick off with Thea. How was your break? What has been on your mind, and what are your thoughts for the year 2024?
Yeah, I think it was really good to take a break. I know that we talked a little bit about this offline, but also online. I think that I love what we do here with the stream. I love running games online. I love running games in person. But to be honest, by the end of 2023, I was tired. There was, like we've talked about this before on here, how running games, you put a lot of energy into it. I love putting energy into this. But I think, I was tired. So I was really glad to have a break and kind of like reflect on how to maintain my energy and my enthusiasm and my chaos vibes and chaos energy into the year. And an important part of that is looking after ourselves. And so I think part of why I'm really glad we've decided to go to sort of seasons of 6 is I think that's going to be far more sustainable. And I think that's a really important thing to be open about, is that when you're a game master, you feel pressure to be there for your players, for the people. But you can't really do that if you're completely worn out. And I might have lower energy levels than other people because people are tiring. They really are. But so that's kind of a big reflection for me. In terms of looking forwards, I'm doing something new. In fact, several something news. Anybody who was following along with us last year knows that I am the one-shot queen or ruler, or I like one-shots, okay, without all the self-aggrandizement, and I run most of my games online. This year, I am actually going to be running a campaign.
Whoa.
Hopefully the mic picked up that. I know. And not only...
Yes.
Not only am I running a campaign, in fact, probably several campaigns, but I'll get to that. But one campaign, not only a campaign, but running a new system. I am going to be running a campaign in Star Trek The Adventure, which is a gaming system.
There was a sci-fi feel somewhere. Yeah,
I don't know. There's a subtle hint, I feel, that I'm putting out there. And it's a game by Modiphius. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I apologize. But it is a gaming system put together and then based around Star Trek. And I'll be running and not only a campaign, but in person. I'm getting out from behind my computer with real people, and it's terrifying. And I've got to be around humans, and I can't wear my pajamas, and I have to wear pants. That's okay. No, I will not stand up. But so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking at running monthly games for the year, and it'll be a campaign. That's not to say that I'm going to stop the Dungeons & Dragons over on OMGM. I'm still really keen to continue playing that. So those games will continue, and that will continue in the same format. I know that we've got some members of my community here. Thank you so much for coming along, guys. And thank you so much for your patience. But I am going to be running more regular games in D&D, continuing the format of the interconnected one-shots with the grand story arcs. And they'll be starting up again soon. But I'm really excited about Star Trek as a game.
Well, look, I've got a question for you, and we can dive into this a bit. I got 2, but I'll start with 1. We'll get into the sci-fi later because I'm sure Jared's got stuff to ask about that too. I'm intrigued. Why the shift to what triggered it over the break?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I've always liked Star Trek and sci-fi, but I recently got more involved with the Australian Star Trek Club, fan club. And yes, I do cosplay, and yes, I will put up some of the pictures of my Star Trek cosplay up here.
Very cool.
It's very fun. And for Loz, I'm cosplaying properly. I've got a wig. I've got a hairpiece. Very excited.
Damn.
Haven't quite got to the point of going blue, but I do have a wig and a hairpiece and cosplay. But I got more involved with them.
One day I'd be keen. I'd be very
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, so I got involved with the fan club. And we started talking. A few of them were gamers from years ago. Some of them have never played tabletop before. And I was just, as you do, scrolling through the internet being a discrete thing that one can scroll through in a finite period of time, but found out that there were some people who'd been playing this game. Oh, I'll have a look at that. Not that I'm a dice goblin, but I may have bought all the books
Yeah.
because I could. I might have bought the box set that looks like a tricorder because it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so good. And yeah, started reading through it and then just floated the idea with the group of running a Star Trek game. And they were all super keen. And what's really exciting is that there are some experienced gamers, but there's also some people that have never played before. And it has been a really long time since I ran a system that I wasn't very, very familiar with. And for people who are new players. So it's a whole new adventure. Get it? Because Star Trek Adventure.
Yep. Star Trek,
yeah,
it's a Star Trek adventure, you could say.
You could.
You could and did.
We'll boldly go, this. We could do a lot of this, and it would be
How much time would that fill an episode? We don't have time for that. We have to restrain.
We could have so many great jokes, but they're just in the. It's a future.
It's an episode.
Yeah.
Oh no! What have I started?
No, I won't. I'm not even gonna. Anyway.
Are you going to confuse Star Trek and Star Wars?
No, it was on purpose, and I restrained myself. I held myself back. So
I admire the self-control.
Have you I would say that learning a new system and introducing a system to people is one of the best ways to get into a system because everyone gets to learn together. They can memorize different sections of the rules. And yeah, learning together and figuring it out is definitely a fun experience in my experience. Fun way to get into a new system. Is that what you've been doing, Thea? Or?
Very much so. So we ran a session 0 as is pretty standard. And I think we've all talked about how important that was. And that was really good as well, but around a new system. So a lot of it was also letting the players know that I'm still figuring some of this out. And that I make mistakes when I'm playing D&D, do not get me wrong. But just setting that expectation that, yeah, this is new, we are learning and we're learning together and that we want to be really kind to each other. It was fun having the first session 0 as well because we did character creation at the same time. And the Star Trek character creation system, there's a couple of options, but one of them is like a career plot, like a lifespan where you go through and you talk about where you started and then you have career events that shape values, and values have input into how your character plays and different bonuses that you get. And I saw a comment, from the Only Trent as well that was talking about it is really interesting to see how they've applied some of the rules of the Star Trek universe and turned that into game mechanics. And I think I would love to have an episode where we talk about that because it's very different to D&D. Sure. You roll D20s still. Yay. 20s bad.
We like our 20s.
So is it a reverse? One's a good, 20's a bad?
So you're saying it's still
one's a good, 20's bad.
Even though it's all far away and,
very
and all
nice.
it's unexplored, it's still focused around D20s.
Good.
So little Christmas present, handmade little resin tray from a market up in Nelson Bay. Absolutely. D20 systems rock.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you're right, Trent. It messes with my brain too. Because you see, it's like, 20. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's bad. So, and it's a different system. Advantage works differently. And you're not trying to beat a score by a certain amount. You're trying to beat a score a number of times. So, yeah, that is a lot of fun. And playing with new people who are, aren't big role players, aren't really big into TTRPG, and just seeing how they just naturally express their characters. And we've got the 2 new players have got quite different approaches, but it's really good. One of them he's great. He's really challenging creatively because he's like, because he's very familiar with his character because he's based it on a character he's created for the fan club. And so he's very familiar with the backstory. So he'll bring things up and go, oh, yeah, I did this on this mission. And I'm madly scrambling going, cool, let's put this into the game canon.
Hell yeah.
I wasn't planning for this, but yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
It sounds like it's been really refreshing.
It has, yeah. And I think tying back to what I was talking about, the being a bit tired at the end of 2023, this is a really nice way to kind of get the creative juices flowing in a good way. So that is really exciting. And the other thing is that I'm getting to bring in, because I've got an interest, it's going to sound a little bit wanky here, but I've got a real interest in physics and sort of quantum science and all that kind of stuff, and bringing that into my story creation. So the plan for the campaign and the different story arcs and the different points and plots, I'm basing them around some things that I've been reading in different books. Like I'm reading about string theory, and it feels really wanky to say that, and I do not understand all the mathematics, but it's a really good point.
It sounds really interesting, particularly because it's something you're interested in and you can speak to from experience. I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. So that's kind of the new direction with gaming. Yeah. And I think we should definitely talk more about the new system and probably talk more about different systems in general. I know we touched on them last year, but I'd really like to kind of, maybe in some of our cozies, we can deep dive some systems. I know that we're going to play Blades in the Dark once we find ourselves a game master. Anyone out there who wants to be a game master?
We will.
Yeah.
We're foreshadowing and manifesting that will happen, and we will utterly indulge in a system and in a storytelling modality that will just seems to suit us so well. I cannot wait.
You're writing this, Jared.
Very exciting.
You're right.
Yeah. And then, so that's sort of the gaming. And I guess the other thing that is, an intention that I am indeed putting out there in the world on the internet forever and ever and ever, as they say, is I really want to focus back on building my community. So the Social Pillar community is amazing. I have neglected the OMGM community a little bit. We haven't really played many games in the last couple of months, so I'm really keen to strengthen those connections. I've had a lot of new players and new people join that community with varying levels of experience, and so that's something that I'm super keen to get back up and running, and I've got plans. Jared, I have taken a leaf out of your book.
Oh, yeah?
It's not in Notion, but I have a spreadsheet with storylines and plots and NPCs and connecting things. So instead of my previous piles of paper.
Yeah.
It's organized. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's epic.
So that's me. That's where I'm at. Very excited for the year.
No, that sounds so amazing. Like you're revitalizing a deep-seated passion for the hobby, and it's and like we're reaching 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons this year. So we've all pretty much touched on that. I know people have been definitely playing role-playing games, never been interested in D&D. Fantasy's not their shtick, but they're just as much of a TTRPG enthusiast, and they'll play sci-fi, or they'll play, superhero role-playing games like Mystic. I've recently found out is an incredibly fun system where you can play sort of street-level, sort of vigilante stuff with not a lot of superpowers, all the way to that Superman, Batman sort of epicness, and you're fighting giant mutants and robot villains and aliens and all sorts. Awesome. I don't want to. It's really an interesting scale, because they let you systems that let you tell the story you want to tell, and don't necessarily just like D&D does fantasy role playing so well and so elegantly, and it is so lore rich. You don't really need to deviate or do too much with it. So I'd love to dive into the complexities of how mechanics tell different stories. And someone in a forum was saying mechanics don't tell the stories, the players tell the stories. And I'd like to debate that point sometime. Yeah.
I would love to. We could do some debates this year.
Hell yeah.
Remember back in high school, you used to do like a debate? You'd take a side?
Yeah, we were those
kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting point that you bring up. The mechanics, because I think mechanics really help tell a story, and that's not something that we've really talked about here.
How systems shape storytelling. That's a really interesting point, because I played last year as a one-off this roller derby one, which is but it's just nuts. It's very simple. Like the system's very simple, so it's very easy. It's a very easy to intro kind of game for people to come in. And you just imagine everyone in a roller derby. Everyone played women in this one as well, and they were like crashing each other or like charming people or whatever it was. It was so fun, but the system was very key to that game. Also, the social stuff of how you're trying to one up the other team or the other people in your team or the relationships you have in the team. The relationships are just as important as the actual roller derby itself. I would love to do a talk about how different role-playing systems shape the storytelling or shape the game. That'll be very good. And how they support, like you said, for start, how it supports having the values is so important in the story. How that can go into the role-playing, can have the feel of a Star story.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that recently.
Okay, that's an app.
But I see that the most excellent Ian is taking notes. Anyone who is new to the channel will know that we all have our strengths. Some of us bring an element of chaos. Some of us bring more of an element of remembering what we've said that we wanted to go back to. Anyone who saw the streams with just Jared and I will know that the level of chaos was there.
Full swing, 100%. Full throttle. Let's go.
Full send. But speaking of full send, though, sending to Ian, back at you. What have you been up to?
Actually, it was really
Where
good. Where am I at? I was thinking about, it was really good to have a break. I really related to you saying that at the end of last year, I was weary, and not in a bad way, not from feeling ground into the dirt, but having this was fantastic. And the stress that came from work, from making this work, was because of the amount that I wanted it as well. You know how you have stress because you want to put more work.
Yeah.
So by the end of it, I was like, I'm so glad this is great, and can't wait till next year, and I need it. So we can be refreshed and rejuvenated.
Yeah.
So it was very nice to have a break. And I'm getting back. It was very good to be able to look back on the year and see what kind of games that I've been. I'm very much looking forward to my campaign, my Labour of Love campaign. Knights of Phandelver, you're out there, guys. Can't play, Town Crew. And I'm very much looking forward to playing games this year. It's 50th anniversary of D&D. I'm turning 50. Same thing.
No, you're not. You lie. No.
I am. Trust me, 50 in body only. That's it. I'm really not in mind emotionally. But I find that fascinating because I've played all 5 editions and, like all the way back to the early mid-80s sort of. So I'm really interested to see where, because it's the 50th anniversary this year and all that around D&D in particular, but it's actually for role-playing in general. And it's really evolved. So I'm really keen to see how has it changed and what kind of games do I want to play? What has changed for our community? For people who are ex-gen like myself, and towards cusp, towards millennials, and to Gen Z, who it's just very different styles of play. And I'm interested in what is important for people this year and what people find really interesting and how do we want to.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. So for me, I know that we're looking at a few different systems. I'm really keen to play in a few different systems for that refresh you were talking about there. I'm very keen.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just wanted to jump in and ask a question about that because it's thinking about sort of generations and where society sits and how people view tabletop and gaming. We're also now into the post-COVID era, or post-pandemic era. I wouldn't say things are back to the way they were, but things are settling into a new routine.
A new normal.
Which is not pandemic-esque. Yeah. So I think I'm curious because tabletop had such a resurgence because you could play it online, you could connect to people during the pandemic. I'm really curious if you think that's going to have an influence on sort of the way that you engage with gaming, thinking about from the generations, but also the societal shifts.
Yeah, I think it can't help but have changed. I think because people have stepped back a bit, and there's some things that people found. I swear that people have become more conscious of what's important to them because of the pandemic. And I know a lot of people change careers and jobs. I think people change systems, I think, actually, just to try something different and had to evolve to being online. So that was interesting. I think we had a little glitch on our video there.
Yeah, I've done
I saw a little bit of a flip.
Ian, can you just tweak the sensitivity on your mic a little bit, because you're actually cutting out slightly, and I think that would get our audio balanced slightly more. Thea, with her impactful enthusiasm, is slightly overpowering you, seeing as your audio sources are mixed.
Is mine low?
Yes.
How's that?
That's delicious.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Ian, you've got such a wonderful voice.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone can hear it.
Welcome, everyone, to our radio chat. We're back in. And,
beautiful.
Back into some ASMR. Not a system we've explored.
Not yet. Anyway, so moving on.
Tangent. Yeah, please.
We had... Looking back at last year, so partly it was things have changed. I think they're never going to be the same. We're still kids. We just add more layers on as we grow older and more experienced in how to make decisions. That's it. And what our values shape that. I'm so glad you brought it in Trek. I'm interested in that kind of thing, and how do you bring those into a game? But something for me last year that was a different thing was I was running a lot of one-shots to introduce people to D&D in particular, plus a couple of other games. But it was really great and because of that, I got into a bit of a rhythm of how to prepare. How do you set up, very simply, what are the things you need to set up in your game so it's preferred? People know, like a very simple system. It makes it easier and more efficient to. But also, are you hitting the values? Am I making sure that people feel welcome? They get the basic rules kind of down. They have a chance to engage with each other and all those things. So that got refined, which I was really happy about. I started realizing, particularly after reflecting over summer, that I was running my long-term game, and I got some really great feedback. I do like a session 0 with my crew every year just to and see, like, how was it last year? What did you like? What do you feel was missing? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? And one thing that picked up was a really good mate of mine. He said, I really enjoyed every session. It was like every one of them was very different, and it was really interesting, but I never felt like I had a chance. I don't feel like we had doubt. I felt like it was constantly going from one to another. I said, okay. And I looked back and I realized I'd been running my campaign games like one-shots. And it was like, and it's like being on and everyone up and there's an intensity that can be around that because you're trying to cram things in, give everyone a really good experience, but you're covering a lot of different stuff. And I started unconsciously doing that for the long-term game. Every single episode was like...
Interesting.
Boom, boom, boom. And even the downtime, I listened back to it and felt like it was kind of paced through rather than just back and enjoy. And it's funny because I learned from that when I did my first one-shot this year in January for some times at Break.
Yeah.
And I deliberately said to myself, we don't storytelling. It's okay. As long as they're happy. It doesn't matter. I can do a cliffhanger. It doesn't matter because they don't know where the hell this is going, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And in the end, we got down to 2 of the 3 scenes done. And at the end of the second scene was like they had made camp. They were going to sleep. Some of them were drunk on the beer that they had saved from this wonderful festival that was. And one of them decided to be the one on watch, so was not very conscious of what was going on, but just happened to notice these shadowy figures crawling into their encampment and looking among their stuff and getting ready to take their thing. And everyone was like, oh my God, what? And I went, And that's where we're ending today. And they went, no, how could you do this?
Mhm.
And
Awesome.
it felt so satisfying because I thought we didn't get to play combat. They didn't care. They were hooked.
Doesn't matter.
They want to
Yeah.
play. And
Yeah.
that is, I want to bring that kind of sense of trusting being with the group and how listening to where they're having fun and what are they getting out of it. And part of the reason that it went like that long was because they were having a bit of a festival scene where they could go do about 3 or 4 different activities.
Yeah.
Those and did it their own way and had a lot of fun connecting with each other, which is what I wanted. And that was the values. If you keep to your values, I learned a lot from that. I really want to look at that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point you raise as well. When you do run a lot of one shots, you do get into a rhythm because, and when we run at conventions or one shots online, it's like, okay, we want to explore the gamut of what the gaming system has to offer. So we want to have combat, we want to have puzzles, we want to have RP. But listening to you talking, I think that if something is going to drop off in that one-shot environment, particularly at conventions where there is a very clear time pressure, it's the RP, because you don't always have time to allow people to get comfortable role-playing the way that they want to role-play. Some people do voices, some people always talk in the third person, but it can take a while for people to get comfortable role-playing with virtually strangers.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone has different ways. You were saying about how you do things differently as well, and how draining it can be around people for a lot as well. So there's like different things I noticed, like some people say very little, and it's when it's like, what do you like to do? And they just, can I try this? And that's all I want to say is just, can they try something? Yeah, you can. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. And when they succeed, they open up a bit, which is really great.
Yeah.
And you have the other thing with other people who are like, well, I'm going to head over this and try this. And you're like, I have no problem with you. You and it's like, it's not you have a problem with anyone. It's like, how do you best enable each of the different styles of play so that people feel seen or heard? And that's really, that's
having the enthusiastic player at the table is always nice. You can be overly enthusiastic as you can be underly engaging as well. But it is the nuance of the game master to share that spotlight, to be able to say, yes, okay, that sounds amazing. Let's try and resolve step 1 of your 10-step elegant plan to, dive through the window. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You might just have one player who isn't necessarily thinking story and narrative and lots of actions and progressing the thing and doing all of that, or stepping on anyone's toes or steering things in a weird direction. I think something that I'll keep bringing up this year was the impact Renato left on us, which was just sort of leaning back and letting the players do stuff and then reacting to that and just keep putting obstacles in their way. But yeah, it sounds like you've definitely got a finger on that pulse in terms of knowing when a player needs the encouragement and when it's just like,
I'm
okay,
aware of it. I'm aware of it. I want to hone it. I think that's it. Yeah, it's like, I know us as GMs, it's so much observation and feeling the room. It's like really reading the room is a part of what we do. So I'm keen to do that. And before, just because I can wrap up, on that and jump in, guys, if you have any questions, and guys in the chat, please do send us what are you keen to look at this as well. One thing I'm keen, I discussed briefly before, it was about the preparing. So it's like, what do you do to prepare for a game? And I've got a very particular system, but that's what works for me for a one shot. I've got a different thing that works for a campaign because I want to keep it a bit more fast and loose. And there's also a lot more information to keep track of. So there's that. And I'm keen
as I am learning.
Yeah, you're going to learn a lot of that this year. So I'm very keen about you. How did both of you prepare for your game? And I just want to hear how that works, because are there, uniform things, are the universal preparation steps that come into this? Style, how do you do it? I'm keen to look at this.
I actually think this could be an interesting thing to track, because we're all making some changes on, not change for change's sake, but evolutions. And being the good scientists we are, I think it'd be very interesting to check in every couple of episodes and sort of see what has evolved. Looking at, well, how am I preparing now? What have I done differently because I'm doing different things or I have a different focus? Is there any changes that you've made already, Ian?
Yes. Well, I did for this year in particular that having the breakdown of what I do in preparation for a game, so that I've got, these are the, prep, welcoming everyone, rules, housekeeping, game, act 1, act 2, act 3, whatever it is, wrap up, and that's it. So there's that. But one thing particularly, and this was actually something Chris Perkins from D&D had said in recently, others have, but he does something where he has, in his scenes at the beginning of it, says very little. Just you cross over the hill and you see beyond the few trees scattered there a mansion. And he leaves it. And he just waits for the players to say stuff. And I can still have listed like 5 big things that if they do this, here's the things I want them to look at. Anything else is up for grabs. And that kind of is this emerging gameplay. Steve Grodzicki in our chat last year as a guest mentioned that. And I know Renato said something similar, and Jared, you said something similar. I'm really keen to keep helping enable others to be interested, to ask questions, to be in. So, and to create the story themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that allowing people that space to fill the parts, like that you leave, rather than feeling as a GM that you need to fill in everything. And Snyder Nix, also welcome Snyder Nix.
Hey, Snyder Nix.
First-time chatter. But as mentioned that they tend to be quite a participant, and that's absolutely fine. Like there's Jared, as you've said, there's lots of different valid ways, and having that space for people who perhaps are a little quieter and don't necessarily jump in, and being able to leave that, I think is a really key skill. And something that can take a bit of getting used to as well as a GM. It's like, I'm making the story. I need to fill every single moment, but you don't. And so I'm really glad you brought that up.
Like you are James T. Kirk.
Keith Kirk. Hello.
There's such a flip side to that as well, Ian. Like, I love the elegance of that. I love the simplicity. I love the ease of prep when it comes to just paint the scene and let them explore and enjoy. I don't want to pin it on Sly Flourish and the lazy DM guide, but I think that's where I've heard it from, which is start every session off with a bang. Which is like, what's the thing? What's going down? What's happening? Is there a flaming cart that's been let loose running down the street, or like some screaming, or is there action, or whatever it may be, and then try and leave every session on a cliffhanger so that everyone's absolutely gnashing at the bit to try and get back into it. Sure, maybe that's that. Like you've literally touched on both of those now. You've said I left them on a cliffhanger, but you're also trying to evolve, as Thea put it so elegantly. We need to just try things on, and it's not going to be for every system or every group or every session that we run that we're going to start off quiet and end on a cliffhanger, because that doesn't actually work from the next session where you left it on a cliffhanger. You don't want it to be quiet. You want to jump straight back into that amazing point of story that you were leaving off on. So it is that nuance, and we're always learning and changing our approaches.
Absolutely. Speaking of learning and changing, Jared, have you learned and changed? Have you grown as a GM over the last 3 months?
I have moved forward and I have regressed. No, I've dived into 2 big things over my break. One has been Dragonbane, the new Mirth and Mayhem role-playing system by Free League. It is based on a Swedish role-playing game from the 80s, Drakar och Demoner, which is dragons and demons. Yes, it is this rehash, this renewal, this revitalization of more of an old school role-playing sort of system. It's a little bit rules light, it's a little bit gritty, and combat is brutal. Monsters don't even have to roll to hit. You have limited actions. Initiative is shuffled every round. So I've been diving into learning and embracing a new system, learning what I can from that, as well as going back to my roots of roleplay, which has been forum based, or in today's age, Discord based, play by post collaborative narrative storytelling that doesn't have conflict resolution mechanics, aka rules with dice and things. It is this sort of respectfulness of the other players and what where the story's headed and what you can do with your character, how much you can involve other player characters, because it's not live. It's something that has to be sort of done in your own mind, in your own time and space, and it's a slow burning narrative where you can write as much or as little as the minimum requirements for each RP. So I haven't even started an RP or joined an RP with anyone in this wonderful Discord because I've been going through their rigorous vetting process.
Okay.
And if anyone, I don't know how many people who would be listening would know what forum roleplay was, but back in the early internet days,
I think it's good to put out that this is definitely an older person thing as well.
Yeah, back in older person days, literally like early 2000s.
Says the youngest of the three of us.
Yeah. Well, I have.
Were you even alive in the 80s?
Yeah, I have. I wasn't. So yeah. I was an internet kid. I grew up as the internet grew up and evolved, and forums were this big place. Like before social media really was a thing. Like Facebook wasn't even a thing when I was doing this forum roleplay, because that's where communities of passionate, like-minded people gathered. So forums were basically like a social media or a Discord where you could have multiple threads and people could just chat about stuff and ask questions and get into their fandoms and things. Yeah. So definitely found myself in a passionate, dedicated forum roleplay site, and that meant that you could sign up, and a lot of these did have some form of vetting or some sort of process for you to register interest, but you had to express that you were going to be an active participant, because there's nothing stopping people from registering to a website saying, hey, I'd love to join this really cool apocalyptic sort of superhero kind of RP, not really make the greatest effort with an original character concept and maybe post 2 or 3 times and just then drop away because they got bored or whatever. You just don't know when it's this international accessible internet thing. So that's why I've been really grateful that the Discord that I found myself on was effectively started by people who were early 2000 role players, and they've created this Discord with lots of people who are all excellent writers, and you have to participate on the general sort of chats, and you have to build up your post count so that you become a normal member. You show a certain amount of effort, and then you have to submit samples of writing. So that's been an interesting thing for me to do, which isn't just this improvised storytelling that I'm so practiced at now with TTRPGs. And when you do have that live feedback of a tabletop, that's when I really, really enjoy storytelling, I think. So to sit down in front of a computer and just with a blank page, as many attempts of writers have experienced, I had to just sit there and think, okay, I need to come up with an original character. I have to hit a bunch of criteria. I need a detailed personality, a detailed description of their looks. I need to come up with a history of who they are and why they're there. I need to come up with some sort of abilities and some weaknesses for those abilities, because they're not infallible. And yeah, you have to sit there and really just generate this out of your own brain. And it's a muscle I can't say I've flexed in recent years too much. So that's been really fun.
I think that sounds really interesting. And I think I would like to explore in an episode sometime this year vetting, because I think that there'd be a lot of different opinions on vetting for this kind of thing, on whether you should do it, how you should do it, what you get out of it, what are the disadvantages. I think we could talk about it for a long time, so I don't know if we should get into it now.
No, I think it's
but I'm hoping that the person who remembers and writes things down might do that.
Well, we've got this audio and video recording of this.
Oh yeah, we got this recorded. So we'll go back and watch it. Yeah,
we'll circle back around and take notes. But it has been an interesting experience. The whole idea of that there's no mechanics to build a character around. So I feel like whenever I've, and I've been creating a bunch of Dragonbane characters where I'm thinking of cool concepts, because it just plays a little bit differently. You don't actually have classes. You have classes, which is called your profession. You have kin, which are your races, and you don't have levels per se. Your stats across your 6 basic scores and your 20 also skills and your weapon skills, they just get better. And much like it sounds like with your Star Trek system, you still use D20, but it's a roll under system. So your score, the higher your score, the easier it is for you to roll that 20 and roll under it. And if you roll a dragon or a demon, a dragon being a natural 1, good things happen. And a demon being a 20, where bad things happen. You actually get to mark on that skill that you rolled a dragon or a demon for that skill. And at the end of the session, you have a chance to level up and gain additional points in that skill. That's simply how progression works. So it's very elegant. It happens in the moment. It's a way to celebrate highs and lows. Thank you, Snyder, for the follow. And also at the end of a session, it also kind of has a stars and wishes mechanic built in, which I love.
Oh, it's got a mechanic.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, and it also has direct feedback in this progression system, because there's 5 questions that are written in the book, but you can take whatever you want. And the first question is, did you participate in the session? Congratulations, you get to try and level up a skill of your choice. Did you overcome a challenge non-combatively? Did you overcome a frightening creature? Did you give into your character's weakness, such as the rogue who has kleptomania and things like that? So it's and so even if you don't roll any 20s or 1s, you still get to progress, or at least have a chance of progression, because you still have to roll to try and level up each individual skill. So I've been juicing up into a new roleplay system with different mechanics that approaches things in different ways, and then going all the way back to my roots of roleplay, where it was just about creative storytelling and conveying that through text. I like restricted medium when it comes to creativity. I don't like having the entire palette of spectrum of colors if I'm painting or drawing or doing anything like that. I like to have this limited amount of resources, and when I've just got my skill and ability and vocabulary to put down and express what I want to, I found myself really enjoying my sample of writing my samples and sending that in and getting feedback on it, because I didn't quite pass the first time. So that's been really good. So I still don't, it's been almost 2 weeks that I've been part of this Discord talking about coffee and like all these other things, because they're a tight-knit community, and there's people who are talking about their own TTRPG systems that they're making and things like that. So I'm participating in a community rather than just being this person who is a character to a thread of a narrative, and they've got these dedicated worlds that they keep persistent, and people can start their own RPs. You can sort of do your own thing if people would be interested, but I like that they've got this sort of common ground, and that they know each other as well as RP with each other. I think it's really cool.
It's interesting. I'm having a very interesting response when you're talking about this vetting process, and you're talking about, not necessarily getting through. And I would love to explore that at another time, because I think I'm responding differently to, I think, how you are. And I think it would be fascinating to look into why that is.
Yeah. Are you having a resistance or an angst about it? Because
absolutely,
Ian can tell you in the little video chat that Ian and I had when you were feeling under the weather, I did say, I just don't know if it's going to be worth it. I want to do this, but like, do I want to do it that badly? And there was a part of me that was just like, I need to finish the thing I started, and at the same time I'm like, it's going to be worth it. Like the grass will be greener on the other side, and I'm taking that as a personal challenge and a personal pride. But at the same time, after submitting it, it wasn't just do it again. It was very much okay. We like this. We really enjoyed this. It was a great read. Just on this, the personality part started off well, but ended up being kind of like a history. So if we could maybe separate those and expand into that. So it was constructive feedback, and they were like, look, whatever you need, like, it was very encouraging. So I'm
That's what
glad we
Snyder
don't
brought a
really
point
do
up
that.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad we don't
yeah.
do that in tabletop role playing. I'm glad it's the
Yeah.
general attitude is give it a go.
Yeah.
And by all means, a seat is open at my table unless I have 8 players
Yep.
already,
We'll fit
That's
you
a
in
good
somehow.
point.
But Snyder brings up as well. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah. Go ahead, because it's actually, I think it's the whole thing about, but is it clicky? Like, is it a gate thing?
That is what I think I'm responding to.
It is less so clicky, more so, and I don't use this in a negative way, in my experience, it's a little elitist, as in they do hold you to a certain standard, but that's all out there. And at the same time, there's a very legitimate reason, because like I started off with, when you join a community like this that requires not necessarily regular posting, because different RP threads will have different speeds. So when it comes to, like, there's not necessarily game mechanics like a tabletop role-playing game where there's dice and stats and things. There's rules. You have to participate a regular amount, a minimum amount. You have to post a minimum amount. Some threads are going to say, I want 1 to 2 paragraphs. Some are going to say, we need a page per post. Some people are going to post 2 or 3 times a week. Some people might be able to post every day, but you respect each other and you only bite off as much as you can chew. And they're very clear that they do hold a standard of writing that is an advanced literate level. So I didn't know if I was going to pass, and I wasn't going to be disappointed, or, they do give you second chances as well. So it's been an experience that I was informed about. And it's not so much like the cheerleaders where it's like you have to be able to roll and tumble and do the splits and do all of that, and you don't even look the part, so we're not going to let you try out or anything. I wouldn't say it's that, but there's definitely a standard that they hold themselves to. And I mean, there's definitely tabletops of D&D and TTRPGs that have been out there where people go, oh, well, we're not looking to take in new players. They want that. And you could say it's gatekeeping, but again, it is curating a specific experience.
I don't think it's one or the other. I actually think there's a few grades, because it can be to a point where it becomes gate. But there's a different thing where it comes to, you said like a level of quality, I think you said elitist kind of thing. But I think there's something about when you've got just a level of expectation of, this is the kind of game we're playing, this is what's here, these are the kind of expectations people, because we're trying to set this is the kind of feel, this is what it is, and this is what we're players. And I think that is an advanced style of role playing that is definitely not for beginners. I think that's it, because it's like it's expectations. As long as it's transparent, that's all I care about. As long as there's like, guys, you're going to need this, you're going to need this, you're going to need this. And people are like, I'm out, because that's too much for me. Like when you were saying the level of commitment when it came to the writing, I was like, yeah, I'm out. That's like, if I was younger, about 20 years or something, I'd be so keen and I'd have more time to be able to do this, but I don't have time at the moment. Yeah, I think it's that just transparency.
Yeah, I made an informed decision, and I had to keep checking in with myself, because there was a bit of angst and a little bit of, oh, maybe I'm not going to, but it wasn't because of, it was just because I needed to perhaps overcome some internal blocks where I was like, no, I can do this, and I rose to the challenge rather than looked at it and thought, oh no, I'm just not going to bother. I definitely had an informed decision that I balanced the equation of and decided, yes, I'm going to give this a crack, and I'm not going to be upset if it doesn't work out.
It sounds like it was a challenge rather than an exclusion. It's
100%. 100%.
Yeah. I think it'll be very interesting to see how it evolves. And I think we could definitely talk more about this. And I think we probably should, because as Ian says, there is different things that suit different people. Unfortunately, we are starting to run out of time for this evening.
We've
got so much to talk about. No, first week back, always a lot to talk about. Always amazing hanging out with you guys and everybody in chat. And it sounds like chat's got a lot to say as well, which is fantastic. Wrapping up our stream, I think, if that works for you most awesome people.
Yeah,
Sure
doesn't
sadly.
work for you most awesome
Sadly.
people.
I mean, if you guys
Sadly.
don't want to stop chatting to us, those of you who are live, we're going to be hanging out in the Discord. Let me drop a link for
Please
that
do.
one. I reckon we can get a couple of people over there. If you guys want to keep chatting via text or voice and video, we're going to be hanging out in the in the after stream chat. Feel free to come over and continue the conversation there. Oh, what? Commands aren't working.
Let me get up.
That was
it's all right.
Oh, no.
We'll sort it out. It's the first week back. There's some tech issues. I will.
That's
none of them working.
guys.
That's all right. I will.
Yeah, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who was in our chat tonight. Really good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. It's time to wrap up, as you said. We will be talking about something interesting next week that we touched on today. Jared, would you like to introduce us?
So yeah, we're back in it with regular scheduled programming. A little bit less of it, but I like that. I think we're going to do a little bit more, bring more each episode rather than try and keep an ongoing and sort of thinned, diluted concentration of content for you guys. So that is something I'm absolutely looking forward to. Next week, I think we dive into that prep episode. I wanted to do more than one prep episode last year, but we just did have so many wonderful ideas that we're gonna be rehashing. We've said in just about every other episode last year that we need to talk more about this and that and the other. But next week we're gonna dive into, I think, that prep approach, like how we think, how we act, how we take notes and things like that. Not structure or anything like that. I think just more of that, what's the mentality? What is the, do we go in with a particular aim for a regular session versus the one shot sort of thing? And I do want to lean a little bit, if anything, onto introductory sessions. I am going to be, much like Theo, diving into a new role-play system. Come Monday, I'm bringing one of my regular clients into the world of Dragonbane. We travel to the Misty Vale. So they're going to be creating new characters. It's going to be one of the first times I'm properly running it for people. So while I am mega nerd and I feel like I've got the system locked inside and out, and I've kind of allocated how this works in D&D, and now it works like this in my brain. That's pretty much how I learn new roleplay systems. So it's very much like D&D. It has advantage and disadvantage, but it has banes and boons. And you can stack them. I know. I won't take it any further, but it has its own elegance, and we're going to be trying that out. So I'm already, just the way that they've structured their adventure book has already got me thinking how I want to approach sessions with that, because monsters are these grand things that they fight, and then it's just all about the little things in between, more or less. And there's actual rules and necessity for survival mechanics, which is going to be fun. So food and rest and shelter are a big thing. So,
aside from episode, which we're doing next week, I think we do need to a bit about bring us in.
Oh, Ian, you've dropped out completely. I think you need to lean in and ASMR your microphone as well.
Yeah,
again.
Hello.
Amplified outro.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, we got you.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. I think Dragonbane, it should be an episode up, aside from the episode itself. But we are running out of time. I just looked at that as well. Guys, thank you for being with us as well. Thea, are we rating tonight?
We are. I think we'll head over. So, on the spirit of doing things a little bit differently, let's head over to Gumstitch, who is an Australian streamer who is playing a RPG, but not a TTRPG. Yeah, try it out. Let's expand a little bit. Really good play. He talks a lot about what goes on in mechanics of games and the mechanics of being a player. So I think it would be fun to go visit this lovely human being. And and there's not a lot of people playing D&D live this evening. There's a lot of people doing replays.
Okay. Getting back. Everyone's on a break.
I think everyone's on a break. But we are. Anyone who is interested in catching up on last year, every episode that we have done is now up on YouTube. I don't have the link prepared, but if you give me a second, I will.
Check on Facebook, guys. The post that we over the last week or so on Facebook about us being back on, it has a link in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the link and my computer's not working.
Okay.
It's the Social Pillar on YouTube. Come watch us.
Yeah, same way it's spelled in Twitch and stuff.
Yeah,
it's us.
The
We're out there.
team
We got
comes
socials.
together. Beautiful. We got socials. Join the Discord. We have a wonderful community. We are growing the community. We're going to do a lot more stuff this year. We're going to play, and maybe we might play with you guys. Wait, we might play tabletop with you guys. Don't ban us.
We're going to role play with you guys.
We're going to role play with people. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Looks like people are filing into the Discord. Hatter is jumping the gun and already over there. So yeah, we're going to go do that. Come say hi, hang out, send us messages, share this with your friends. And please shoot us a comment, leave us a message in the Discord. Let us know what you want us to dive into and explore. This is what we created this project for. It's to expand the community and hear everyone's thoughts and feelings on this wonderful hobby. So thanks for tuning in. Love you all.
Join us. We do love you. Mwah.
Thank you all. Take care. And see you all next week.
Take it all. Take it all. Take it all. Tear down capitalism.
And run away
next week.
Join us. Bye.
Mwah. Bye.